Our next speaker is Dr. Alan Knight from USDA ARS Laboratory in Wapato, Washington. He's going to speak on 3-for-1. 3-for-1, that's a good deal. Alternative organic adjuvant that may improve management of fruit flies, diseases, and birds in cherries and small fruits.
Thank you, Jay, and thank you everyone for coming to this concurrent session. Appreciate it. I only have 10 slides, and so it's so pathetic seeing these researchers go, oh, please, can I go over the time limit, please? Sorry, Tom. Anyway, so my talk today is only 10 slides because I don't have a lot of data. It's more of a concept talk today with the idea that we have a new insect problem in cherries throughout the Western United States and probably other regions of the United States. It's becoming a problem. That's the spotted wing Drosophila, which threatens our established spray programs. And my concern is particularly the organic cherry production program that has been doing so well of recent and has generated tremendous income for our organic cherry growers. But as an entomologist, you have to consider what we're already doing before this insect showed up, which was having to deal with the Western cherry fruit fly. So having two insects together is always more fun than one. So we wanted to look to see if we could improve the overall management of both insects. And in doing so, we have to consider plant diseases, fruit diseases particularly, and also birds. As you know, cherries are heavily attacked by birds. So the story, and this is an organic conference, I put those in red, but we do have especially in the conventional world, there's a tremendous list of very powerful insecticides that are very effective against the Drosophila. But in organics, we have this Entrust spinosad formulation, which is registered organic, and then the GF120 bait. And it's really the GF120 that was widely adopted by cherry growers, at least in Washington. And we found when this new insect showed up that it wasn't working very well for for spotted wing. And this creates imbalance. Like this year already, last year wasn't very bad for spotted wing, and this year we're already seeing reports of problems. So it's a timely project, and I'm happy to be working on it. It's kind of fun for me after working on moths for 30 years. Dr. Wei Yi at the USDA lab has been working furiously on Western cherry fruit fly. He lives and breathes this insect, and he's done 20, 30 papers that have included the idea of adding sugar to just a regular insecticide, not a formulated product like GF120, but adding sugar. He's used yeast extract in a lot of his studies. Only one of them where he ever used it as part of the bait. He generally uses yeast as a food supplement, which is an important issue with Western cherry fruit fly because they live and feed for a long time before they start laying eggs and stuff. So their nutritional status has been shown to be an important factor. And sugar and yeast, of course, he uses together in all these studies. Now, down here at the bottom, I point out that yeast plus sugar was one of the initial baits that people wanted to look at to catch this insect. And it was a little cumbersome to work with. The yeast would start growing and would get cloudy and nasty and stuff. So people are still using apple cider vinegar. But anyway, there's quite a literature about using sugar or yeast to feed fruit flies or to attract fruit flies. And this is just showing some data. You said this one's the pointer? Okay, this is some laboratory experiment showing that the GF120 doesn't work very well for spotted, and also this product that's available that you can add to an insecticide, new lure, also doesn't work very well. These are a fly mortality at 2 in the green in 6 hours. And here you see the level of Entrust in these bioassays here, these Petri plate assays. Entrust in that short time period causes very little mortality. We add new lure, bumps it up a little bit at 6 hours. The GF120, similar to the new lure. And here's what we initially found by adding this simple bait that we'll be talking about at 2 and 6 hours. At 24 hours, we have complete mortality. The more important issue, of course, is killing the insect before it can attack the fruit. And so what we have in this slide are the 2 hour and 6 hour mortality again, but this is a series of repeated experiments done as the cherry matures during the season last year in 2011, Bing cherries, from green cherries, yellow red, to mahogany, and dark mahogany, which is generally, they would be picking the cherries somewhere in these two dates. And again, we have Entrust versus Entrust the bait, and you see that the gray bars are statistically greater, so higher mortality with the bait at both time periods consistently. There's no question that adding this sugar and yeast bait increases mortality quite in the short time periods. Now, what we really care about are how many eggs are laid and how many larvae are alive 7 days later. So these are eggs counted 24 hours later. Again, through the season, depending on the quality of our flies and the quality of our technicians doing the work and stuff, I don't think the size of these bars necessarily reflect the quality of the fruit. Though you do see, of course, that the green and yellow cherries are not very good hosts for the spotted wing Drosophila. Western cherry fruit fly will oviposit in these, but we see very few eggs. But from this point on, we would expect all these fruit to be suitable, and we had quite an improvement, over 50% reduction in number of eggs. Similarly, particularly on this one day where we had the most data, we see about a 50% reduction. So this added addition of this bait seems to be something that can be easily done to improve this organic insecticide. I should just say that we started last year with brown sugar and bread yeast. So this data here was very simple organic products. You can buy compressed yeast. We get ours from Red Star now, and the brown sugar or white sugar you can use. The thing that made this the opportunity to give this talk more attractive to me, and I thought it would be more interesting to you, is the integration of these problems that growers have. So, of course, birds. I have a brother who's an ornithologist. My mother loved watching birds, and so I have a love of birds as well. And there was one grower in Yakima who added 8 pounds of white cane sugar per acre, which is about a 1% solution, in his cherries, and thought that it really worked, and it kind of spread to Honeycrisp last year. And so 3,500 acres were treated last year around Yakima, and they all said it worked. And so as a researcher, I did some experiments to see if it actually would work. And I was able, in our research farm, to do a very small study. And by putting out 5 weekly sprays of this amount of sugar, and then going in and looking, we had 4% injury with no sugar and 1% with sugar. And it turns out in the literature that both robins and starlings are two major cherry-loving birds. Both lack the sucrase enzyme. So actually eating sugar, cane sugar, makes them ill. And so birds are pretty smart, and they learn to avoid that. Now, magpies are really stupid, right? Not really, but magpies are so smart that we couldn't really stop them from attacking by using sugar. But anyway, this is some circumstantial evidence that perhaps those growers actually know what they're doing. So this year, I'm now working with cherry growers, and if it continues to be something that works well, I think we'll see this. And so certainly it's organic to spray cane sugar. I didn't check the rules, but I'm hoping that sugar. Okay, I know it's bad for you, but okay. So the final part of that blend is the yeast, and we've worked with 30 or 40 different kinds of yeast. And as I mentioned, the data I showed in this talk was bread yeast, and we've gone on to look at yeast that we've isolated off the bodies of the fruit flies, and also from codling moth, and also from fruit, and ones that I picked out of the catalog of yeast. And we are this year working with a different yeast, which I won't say what it is particularly today. But the idea of using a yeast that also has a biofungicide activity. Now, biofungicides, we're going to be hearing Larry will be talking shortly about his product, and they can be used during the season or, of course, post-harvest. And in cherries, we have a number of fruit rot problems, issues. Powdery mildew is the #1 problem. Then we have brown rot and botrytis fruit rot. So the idea is, what if by using this simple yeast and sugar, we can control both insects and also repel birds and control fruit diseases? Wouldn't that be a lovely world? Okay, so this is the idea. So this little chart down here kind of shows how that would work, because the sugar that they've been using for birds is at 8 pounds. This one particular product is used at a little over 1 pound. This is data showing the mortality that we get when adding to entrust. So if we, between that range, we see we get pretty much the maximum insecticidal boost. And, for the fruit fly, I wouldn't use 8 pounds. I might use 1 pound or 3 pounds. But if we get the bird activity, then we would just go with the bird activity level, and we would go with the fruit rot level and also get the insect control. I hope that's clear. So that's what we're doing now. So it's really early on. I just wanted to give this talk. It allows us all to start thinking in terms of integration of problems in orchards. Thank you very much.